Have you been trying to figure out what your macros should actually be when you're trying to lose weight? I know it can be a little confusing at the start, so by the end of today's video, you're going to know exactly where to start your macros and then how to change them. What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to show you 3 different macro ratios you can use when you're trying to lose weight. And if you're new to the channel and new to my videos, my name is Aaron. I'm an online fat loss coach. I help people lose weight and get strong. And I currently put out 1 video a week. And if you want to keep getting updates for these types of videos, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. So today I'm going to be guiding you through how to actually choose the best macros for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get you your first base macros that you can start with, and then how you can change them depending on how you feel, your activity level, and just your day-to-day life. So if you saw my last video, you're going to know that the exact macro ratio you follow when it comes to losing weight isn't a huge deal. And the one important thing that we do want to ensure is that we're getting a sufficient amount of protein so that way you can maintain as much muscle mass as possible. So throughout all these examples, I'm going to have 30% of your calories coming from protein for every macro ratio, even when we're making adjustments, just so you can ensure you're getting enough protein. And if you want to learn everything about macros and how to calculate your macros when it comes to losing weight, I'm going to link my video up here and in the description so you can give it a watch and learn everything about macros. So to figure out your best macros, we need a starting point. We have to start from somewhere. So we're going to start with something that's called a balanced macro ratio. This is simply a diet that has 30% of your calories coming from protein, 35% coming from fats, and 35% coming from carbs. This is fairly even across the board, and I find for most people this is a very good starting point because it's not too many carbs and it's not so much fat or too little of one or another. So that way it's a very good way to ease yourself into some macro tracking. Some people will find they feel great on this macro ratio. For me, as an example, I'm currently about 30% protein, 40% carbs, and 30% fats. So very, very close to that balanced macro ratio. So depending on how you feel with that balanced macro ratio, you do want to give it some time to kind of get used to it. So try and stay there for at least 1 or 2 weeks to really get into the routine and make sure you're hitting those macros consistently. You may notice on those macros that you do feel a little more full than usual, but you may not. Everybody is a little bit different when it comes to macros. So we're gonna go through 2 different adjustments we can make. We're going to keep the protein constant, so the 2 things that we're changing are the amount of carbs and the amount of fats in your diet. The first situation is going to be increasing the carb intake. This would mainly be for people who, let's say you work a physical job, you do need a little more carbohydrates, or if you're lifting in the gym consistently and you want to really focus on your workout performance even while you're lifting weight, or you may be someone that just likes eating a little more carbs. So this will allow you to have more carbs in your diet. So this macro ratio is 30% protein. We're going up to 45% carbs, and we're going to go down to 25% fat. This is a great macro ratio if you find your activity level is a little higher. So if you're doing a lot of running and you're lifting a lot, or you just work a very active job, this will help quite a bit. Also, if you're someone that tends to eat more lean meats, then this will be excellent as well because the fat goal is a little lower. So if you like eating a lot of chicken and you're not getting that much fat in your diet, this will be an easier macro ratio to stick to. And then from this, you can even take it a little bit further. So if you find you need a little more carbs or your workouts are dragging a little bit, you can always up it to 50% carbs and then lower the fat by 5%. So as you can see, really all we're doing is changing the numbers a little bit. So we went up 10% on one and then down 10% on the other, and we're keeping the protein the same so we know we're getting enough. The next macro ratio, which is the third one, is all about lowering the carb intake. There are some individuals who are a little carb sensitive and just may not feel good on a lot of carbs. One of my clients, for example, doesn't do well on a moderate or high carb diet. He feels better, he has more energy, and his workout performance is actually better on a lower carb diet. Whereas myself, I'm kind of the opposite. I need more moderate to high carbs. So this is why there's no perfect macro ratio. Everybody is a little bit different. So to accommodate for this, we're gonna start with that balanced macro ratio. After you've done it for a little bit, we're going to increase the fat intake to 45%, and we're going to lower the carb intake to 25%. So as you can see, it was fairly similar to the second macro ratio. We just kind of flipped the carbs and the fats. And this would be a great ratio to do if you are someone, as I described, where you just feel a little bit better on lower carb. Some people just function better with less carbs compared to others. This macro ratio would also be great if you live more of a sedentary lifestyle. So if you sit down a lot and you work a desk job or an office job and there isn't much day-to-day movement or activity, the lower carb intake may help a little bit. And you may just honestly feel a little better compared to having, especially mentally, with having to eat so many carbs in a day. So as you can see, working out the best macro ratio for you isn't super complicated. It does take a little bit of work and a little bit of time, but you will arrive at the best ratio for you. And the thing that really helps this process actually work is starting with the balanced macro ratio. I would recommend starting there, so that way you're at a very good midpoint and you can easily up the carbs, lower the carbs, up the fats, or lower the fats. So instead of starting with whatever macro ratio MyFitnessPal gives you, which I think it's usually like 50% carbs, 20 protein, and like 30 fat or something like that, I would start with the balanced macro ratio, which was 30% protein, 35% fat, and 35% carbs. So that way you can easily adjust the carbs and the fats so you can really customize it for yourself. So I hope you found today's video useful. And if you're still a little confused on macros, just leave a comment down below on the different aspects you would want to learn about. So if you liked today's video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time.